Be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth. Much higher. This is much higher.
Does he have any fucking statistics to show that data? Because everything that I've read, either today or seen other people cover this, it's saying the complete opposite. Actually, crime has been down since COVID. So
the number of car thefts has doubled over the past
who is he comparing
5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't.
Wait, why is he talking about 2023? Murders in 2023. Is he looking at a fucking 2023 statistics? There's no fucking way. There's no way they let him go out there to talk about 2023.
I don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. Just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes through our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, you know, when you take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is, okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad.
I think he's referring to 2023. I don't know who wrote this speech, but I think he's lying. I think he's referring to 2023. Hey, Cascade. 2023 DC stats, DC statistics. There was a spike in crime in DC in 2025. That's an easy Google search. There's a spike in, but like spike increase of crime in 2023. Small increase. 2025, crime has been down. It's been going down in 2024, and it's only going further down statistically. Who is giving him these? There's no way. This is a simple
Panama
Google
City,
search.
Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru, all double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. D.C., 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication. There was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America. Really, it's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the DOJ staff.
I just want to again point out that this entire time he's been lying about numbers. It would seem that he's going by 2023. Like earlier in the speech, he mentioned he was going by 2023 stats. It's now 2025. Like I said, there was a small spike in crime in 2023, but it's 2 years later and crime has gone down. They've seen an increase of crime going down, or actually a decrease is what I should say. As far as juvenile youth crime, he doesn't know his own statistics.
F was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead, with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person.
I didn't know.
Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason.
What does this
Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums.
I understand that bad things happen everywhere. Like, that's some horrible shit that he just mentioned, but bad things happen. It doesn't mean that you need to fucking march the military down the streets and probably make people want to be more violent as a resistance. Like, this is so
here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. There are ATVs, motorbikes. They travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against law. See, they fight back. until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night, and they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face, and then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit, and they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such. So and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety.
I don't like that. Now that police are able to do whatever the hell they want to when they feel threatened or they feel insulted by something. It's a scary thought. We all know how police are.
Crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central: no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote, because the Democrats are weak on crime, totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute and get rid of some of the other things, and we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote. We don't have a big majority, but we've gotten everything, including the great, big, beautiful bill. Got that done, and that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to people in this country. They're starting to figure it out, how good it is. Biggest tax cut in history. So many things. But we'll be able to get that done. So, Todd, if you and Pam can draw up things working with the people, I'll get it passed. We'll get it passed with the Republicans. Probably won't get, think of this, probably won't get one Democrat vote, because they have no idea what they're doing. That's why they want men playing in women's sports. That's why they want transgender for.
I knew he was going to mention trans. They cannot. Republicans, Donald Trump, nobody. They can't go a fucking second without mentioning trans people for no fucking reason. This is about him trying to fucking send the military after average citizens of DC, and out of nowhere, you know what? Trans people, they're fucking obsessed.
For everybody transgender, and they just got walloped in an election, in a landslide, and they haven't changed one thing. I saw the other day the certain gentleman who was a very well-known politician, Democrat, was fighting like hell that men should be allowed to play in women's sport. They just don't get it. They said it's an 80-20 issue, and I think it's a 97-3 issue. And I don't know who the three are. I've never heard anybody nobody's ever come up to me, sir, you have to let men play in women's sports. You have to do it, sir. Nobody's ever approached me. I don't know where this issue even comes from. Never seen anything like it.
Epstein.
But they turned our nation's capital into a sanctuary jurisdiction. That's the other thing. We have to get rid of sanctuary cities as quickly as possible. We're going to do it, too. We have to. Because it's sanctuary for criminals. Releasing illegal alien gang members onto the streets in 2022.
I question, isn't Mississippi and Louisiana red states? Because that's where, like, the highest violent crime is. It's in the red states, not necessarily the blue states, but so far he's only mentioned blue states. But
nearly 70% of criminals
how much
arrested
does he
in
actually
Washington
care?
Went unprosecuted. That's not going to happen with the group we have standing aside and standing behind me. And at the Metropolitan Police Department, It's now reached a small number relatively compared to what it was, but it's thousands of people. You know, we have thousands of police. I was told today, sir, they want more police. I heard a number, 3,500 police. That's a lot of police. 3,500. I thought they were going to say, we only have 30 policemen or women. He said, we have 3,500. We need more. You don't need more. That's so many. I never heard. That's like an army. How could you need more than 3,000? It just happened 2 minutes ago. Sir, they've requested more police. Oh, what do they have? About 3,500. I said, 3,500? This is not a big area. It's
What the fuck is he
ridiculous.
talking about? What is he talking about right now?
What you need is rules and regulations, and you need the right people to implement them. And we have the right people here, that I can tell you. Look at the border. Biden said there's nothing you can do. Kamala was the border czar. She never called one of the Border Patrol agents who are great. ICE is great. Never spoke to anybody. Never went there. But she was the border czar. And everybody said it was impossible.
Actually, it was the Department of Homeland Security during the Biden era that actually had control and was overseeing everything about the border. What Kamala Harris was actually doing, and I'm just saying this to give people like, you know, food for thought. Kamala Harris was instructed to go over the border and talk to these actual companies or countries that the immigrants are coming from and try to fix that. You know, when you have a leaky faucet, you don't want to put a Band-Aid over. You want to actually try to replace the pipe and actually try to fix it. So he can probably thank Kamala Harris actually for the decrease of encounters at the border, because Kamala Harris was instrumental in getting these other countries to agree to sending troops, their own troops, to the borders. I think it was like 10,000 troops from the other side onto the border. That probably would help with the decrease in encounters.
I fixed it in 3 months.
Also, nobody really wants to come here anymore.
No, really. I fixed it the first week, but really fixed it over the last couple of months. And I mean, literally to a point where, as I said, 0 illegals entering our country in the last 90 days.
Give it
Pretty
time.
amazing. It's time for dramatic action. We're going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be a very safe city very soon. We're not looking to take years, because a lot of people die and people in this country, except we have to allow them to do their job. And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible. But I'm very competent. Last week, my administration surged 500 federal agents into the district, including from the FBI, ATF, DEA, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police, and they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. They got some police, but they're rough police, and they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not going to have crime either. They made dozens of arrests, and that's what starts to happen. Again, cashless bail. Watch what we do with that. Today, we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting.
No, you want to see Putin. You want to talk about your own country. You don't want to talk about the events happening to where you're supposed to be governing. You're the fucking president of the United States. You say, I don't want to be up here talking about shit that's going on in the United States, although you're the fucking president of the United States. That's crazy. That's some wild shit to say. And basically, you're up here based off fucking lies anyways. I don't know who gives this guy his fucking playbook.
Once
but
beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part.
I don't want to be up here talking.
Because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially, capital in the world. We always had. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top.
I was saying
No, we
potholes
don't
are
have to
crazy.
rip the road out and spend 7 years building a new road because they cut everything. Because some designer said, well, we need a quarter of an inch more turn for safety reasons. No, we're going to do it right. We're going to get it done quickly. So today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him. Most highly recommended person. And you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police
I
Department.
never heard
Okay?
such a fake laugh.
And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good people. You have people that shouldn't be there. You also have people that shouldn't be there. They got in there because of woke. But you have a lot of great police, and those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the streets. You're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way. We're going to have National Guard. But Pete Hegseth will tell you about it.
Why the fuck? Why is it so easy for him to just rage roar in his own citizens? Jesus, Louise.
We will bring in the military if needed. People say, oh, that's so terrible. He's going to bring in, it's been used many times over the years. I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people, including the people that are in the police department with proper leadership. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out. They won't be here long. But some of these people, a lot of them, are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people. And this is just a list of some of the people that were given to me today that were criminals removed from the D.C. streets this weekend. They were rough and tough. But we're rougher and tougher. Look at these people here. Nothing, you know. They're not going to be your local school teacher. Look at this guy. He has killed people numerous times.
What's the point of showing pictures if we can't see them? Like I don't even think people there can actually see the pictures. Why not just bring up a big fucking projector or some fucking shit so that people can actually see this evidence that you have?
They're not going to be an asset. They will never be an asset to society. I don't care. I know we all want to say, oh, they're going to be rehabbed. It's not going to be rehabbed. I'm going to ask Doug Burgum to come up and say a couple of words because he's in charge, as you know.
Units if necessary as well. These are bold, decisive steps intended to combat the out-of-control crime conditions we've seen on D.C.'s streets for far too long, and I, for one, am deeply proud to be part of an administration that's finally coming to terms with these issues, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you. So, just to conclude, Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, most beautiful places anywhere in the world. It was years ago. We had one problem that was a pretty big problem. The radical left got out of control and they started trying to rip down statues. And I said, let's go pass a law real fast. We're going to do it real fast. But we were blocked by the Democrats who do not want safety. Nobody gets it. I don't get it. They don't get it because they can't get votes. I don't know how they can win an election with this, but they don't want safety. And I found an old statute, very old, early 1900s, that said if you so much as touch or even think about destroying a statue or a monument in Washington, D.C., you go to jail for 10 years with no probation, no anything. In other words, slightly different than we have today. Today we have cashless bail. Today you get jailed 10 years. No curtailed sentence, 10 years. And we took it out. Nobody used it. It was never used because, you know, it's harsh. And you remember they started to rip down the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I said, that's a tough one to rip down. He was pretty good, Pam. I think he was pretty good. When the ropes started going around Abraham Lincoln to pull him down,
It's built
Andrew
like a
Jackson,
turtle.
others, and they were heading to the Jefferson Memorial, Thomas Jefferson, They're going to do a big number there. I said, it's time. And I signed that statute immediately. We had it updated. We made it use the same language, all passed by Congress. And I announced it's 10 years in jail, no probation, no anything, 10 years, no curtail sentence if you touch, so much as touch a statue in Washington, D.C. And it was an amazing sight, beautiful sight. Everybody just left. The ropes were hanging around Andrew Jackson, and there were 2 ropes around Abraham Lincoln. They left the rope, but everybody just left. And that was the last problem we ever had. You know, that was the last problem that we ever had with the statues. They were going wild. And somebody came to me and said, sir, in 1910, I don't want to give you an exact, because you'll say, Donald Trump gave us wrong dates around like early on. You know, if I'm slightly off, they make you sound a little bad. So I won't put myself in that position. I won't put you in that position, because I think everybody agrees with what we're doing today. But when I signed that thing, it was like a miracle. Everybody left. They were gone. They were starting to march down. They started the march toward Thomas Jefferson. And I figured he was always going to be safe. But they found something with him, and they found something with Abraham.
It's happening in D.C. right now. Protests in D.C. over federal takeover. Oh, this is live. I don't want to watch this guy walk forever.
That for all who live here and visit here, just know how beautiful our city is and how proud we are of all that we've accomplished here. We're unique in other ways as well. Though we pay taxes, in fact, we pay more than most states per capita. We're not a state. We don't control the D.C. National Guard. We don't have senators or full autonomy. Limited home rule gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy in many ways. I've said before, and I'll repeat, that I believe that the president's view of D.C. is shaped by his COVID-era experience during his first term. And it is true that those were more challenging times related to some issues. It is also true that we experienced a...
That's very true. The conference that he just had was referencing past statistics, not statistics from last year or statistics from so far this year. He literally said 2023. How the fuck are you going to use the 2023 statistics and decide to yourself in 2025, I'm going to send the fucking feds or the federal, the military, the National Guard or whatever? He had that planned out the whole time. He always wanted to do that. He's just trying to find an excuse.
Crime spike post-COVID, but we worked quickly to put laws in place and tactics that got violent offenders off our streets and gave our police officers more tools, which is why we have seen a huge decrease in crime because of those efforts. We have been able to reverse that 2023 crime spike. This year, crime isn't just down from 2023, it's also down from 2019, before the pandemic, and we're at a 30-year violent crime low. We're not satisfied. We haven't taken our foot off the gas, and we continue to look for ways to make our city safer. We know, however, as most have heard from the president's press conference, that he has prerogatives in D.C. unlike anywhere else in the country, including his authority given by our home rule charter to require the mayor, to require me, to supply services of the Metropolitan Police Department. And he also has control and the ability to deploy the National Guard. But let me be clear, as our home rule charter is also clear, and the president's executive order restates. Chief Pamela Smith is the chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, and its 3,100 members work under her direction. The Home Rule Charter requires the mayor to provide the services of MPD during special conditions of an emergency, and we will follow the law, though there's a question about the subjectivity of that declaration. In fact, the chief has already provided a high-level liaison and point of contact with the federal government and made those initial contacts. The executive order is also clear that the president has delegated his authority to make requests of us to Attorney General Pam Bondi. I have reached out to Attorney General Bondi and hope to schedule a meeting soon. My message to residents is this. We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizenship. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised. I can say to DC residents that we will continue to operate our government in a way that makes you proud. We will balance our budgets. We will deploy our services. Our kids are going to start school on August 25th, and we will work with the federal government to do the things that they should do for our city, including making sure that we have the judges that we need, including making sure that all federal parks are supported, not just with law enforcement, but with other clean and safe activities, and including making sure that our economy is supported by rational federal actions as it relates to the federal workforce, federal workers, and federal property in the District of Columbia. So with that, I want to ask Chief Smith to talk about her interactions with the federal forces, federal police and law enforcement that have been engaged in the district over the last several days, and the strategy that she thinks would be important while we have additional federal police officers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Pamela Smith, the Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department. And as the Mayor stated, we have a responsibility to support the executive order. And one of the roles that I have is to ensure that we work very collaboratively with our federal partners. I know that most of us know in this room, and those of you that are watching on television, that the efforts of the federal law enforcement officers began in our city on Thursday night. I met with the director of the U.S. Marshal, who has been at that point overseeing the operational component of how the federal resources will be allocated and deployed around our city. With that conversation, it was very, very important for me to ensure that not only do we work collaboratively with our federal partners, but we offer up areas across our city where we can work with them in areas where we know that we want to reduce crime. And so that was the effort on yesterday. We spent roughly about an hour just kind of planning and talking through what that's going to look like. On the heels of the announcement from the president today regarding the executive order and my directive from the mayor is that we will begin more intense planning efforts after I leave this press conference. I've also met with one of the other liaisons that have been assigned to work with the U.S. Marshal, along with myself, regarding the efforts around the city for how we will allocate resources. What I will say is this: our relationship with our federal partners is not new. We do this on a daily basis. We are very, very, very much in tune to having federal law enforcement officers working with us on our Capital Area Regional Task Force. Our federal partners work with us, especially on some of our warrant executions. They work very, very closely with us with our Violent Crime Suppression Division, and it is my intent and my police department's intent to continue those efforts. What you will see is an enhanced presence. The second thing that's really important to me, and I'm speaking directly to our community, is that we have a relationship with our community that is very important to us, our community members. And so having our Metropolitan Police Department working alongside of our federal partners who have come into the city to really help us assess and deal with some of the crime spikes that we have, we will work alongside them. But intentionally, we want to make sure that our community understands that we are there. We're going to be boots on the ground. If you see something, again, say something. We value those relationships. Our community members, and I want to say thank you for all the work that you've done with the Metropolitan Police Department up to this point. Those relationships are very, very important to us, and we want to continue to build upon that and continue to enhance that. I'll turn it back over to Mayor Bowser now.
Okay, we'll take a few questions, and I'm joined by members of my public safety team, including Deputy Mayor Apia and Chief John Donnelly. Yes, please identify yourself.
Mayor Bowser, Campbell Roberts with the New York Times. Do you think this was inevitable, or do you think there are things that the city could have done or the council to prevent the mistake from coming?
This is, I don't know. I can't answer that question, and I think that's a question that you're familiar with the rhetoric about the city and how long it goes back. And we also know that we're not experiencing a spike in crime, but a decrease in crime. Yeah.
Mayor, Tom Sherman from the Radio. You and the chief are talking about partnerships with federal partners who are coming in. The president is talking about a takeover of the city's police department. Where does the chief fit in with Terry Cole, who's the new federal commissioner of the DC Police Department?
Nothing about our organizational chart has changed, and nothing in the executive order would indicate otherwise. So the chief of police reports through the deputy mayor to the mayor of the District of Columbia, and the two people I think that were identified in the presser report to Attorney General Bondi. The executive order makes clear that all requests for MPD services, the president delegates to Attorney General Bondi.
So Terry Cole?
I don't recall the names. Yes.
The Metropolitan Police Department? Where does he fit in that?
That's a question for the Attorney General, I think. Yep.
Mayor, to what extent are you planning to cooperate in this new framework, or is the city planning anything to prevent this from happening, including legal efforts?
Well, I think all legal, I think you probably saw the Attorney General for the district, Brian Schwab's statement about reviewing all legal matters, and I think those matters are under review. The plain language, however, of the Home Rule Charter indicates that there is a declared emergency. It allows the president, it authorizes the president to make those requests. And it says the mayor shall comply with those requests. So, yeah.
Are there any concerns that, with this rhetoric, when you have MPD, the National Guard, possible other law enforcement agencies on the ground, that there will be confusion about who's in charge, who these officers answer to, and how people should respond if approached by
Could be me.
Well, we should note, and we have been advised, and we will continue to make this clear that this is needed in our city, that all law enforcement be identifiable by a uniform, a badge, a jacket, so that people know that they are law enforcement. And the chief, in her coordination with the kind of the command on the federal side, will make clear kind of how the protocols for response. And if there's any additional information we need to get out to the public, we will. But the main point is this: everybody should follow the law, the police and the community. And that's the case now. It was the case last week, and it was the case the week before that. So nothing has changed about that. Yeah.
All this shit is based off a fucking lie. I don't understand who gave this motherfucker. And now it's not going to be anything but just people out in the streets of DC. It's going to be protests, rightfully so.
Live and learn dies with me. Those are your exact words.
No,
and you
okay,
said, fuck Pisco. That was the other thing. I can't believe you ended with
especially
that.
because I came up with the name, and so when this podcast hits it off, then I'm still entitled to at least a 5% royalty, even though I'm not on the show anymore.
That's not how Hutch Pisco and I remember it at all.
I thought Josiah was the one that came up
No,
with the name.
actually, it was you. I had Live, Laugh, Love, and...
No, I didn't say Live and Learn.
I thought it was
totally
Hutch.
me. It was, okay, this is where, okay, see, we're
You
gonna-
didn't seize the means of naming
I'll see you
production.
guys for it, okay.
Oh, debate bro overload. Debate bro overload there. Hold on.
There's an old saying in Hollywood: if all you can get is Dean Cain, you are fucked.
The fact that I'm being, pilloried or attacked for joining up with a federal law enforcement agency is insane.
And now we've got...
That's right. Dean Cain did join ICE. And now he's bitching about people complaining about him
ICE
joining
agents
ICE.
and apparently former Superman actors are going to jump out of vans and nab them.
I'm not untrained. I've been a sheriff's deputy for almost 10 years.
I don't think the fact he's been an actor or footballer or Superman or anything else makes any difference.
You're going out and you're villainizing myself. You're going out and you're villainizing these ICE agents who are trying to uphold the law.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
Pam Bondi doesn't have any experience managing a police department any more than Dean does as an ICE agent.
Well, deportation raids carried out by ICE have become a major flashpoint in U.S. politics and culture. Some heavy-handed and badly managed deportations have taken the gloss off President Trump's decisive action to close the southern border, sparking protests here in Los Angeles and drawing criticism from the likes of Joe Rogan. Now, amid the fire and brimstone, it's only fair to point out this administration is currently deporting less than half of the monthly total deported under both President Obama and Biden. That's because it's much harder to
Can
find
you stop
deported
saying the same shit over and we get it. Deporter in chief, blah, 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 yakety smack.
legal immigrants who have been in their communities for years than it is to send them back across a border you had essentially left wide open. Recruitment may be the answer. ICE is offering a $50,000 signing bonus as pilloried by South Park, and its new signings include actor and former Superman star Dean Cain. But not everybody is impressed.
On the plus side, no need for that guy to wear a mask because the chances of anyone recognising him are fucking zero. There's an old saying in Hollywood: if all you can get is Dean Cain, you are fucked. Now, I'm not saying that ICE isn't finding people. I'm just saying when you are reduced to pinning a badge on the 59-year-old star of the dog who saved Christmas, the dog who saved Christmas Vacation, the dog who saved the holidays, the dog who saved Halloween, the dog who saved Easter, and the dog who saved summer, maybe you are in trouble.
So has Dean Cain misjudged the public mood here, or is he the hero America needs in the quest for immigration justice? Well, actor Dean Cain joins me to speak for himself alongside the Bulwark commentator and host Tim Miller. Welcome to both of you. Dean Cain, your response, first of all, to John Oliver's attack.
Why does John Oliver hate dogs? So I did a lot of dog movies. I've done over 200 movies. I've done tons of films and thousands of hours of television. John Oliver is making a point, I guess, that I'm 59 years old and I've joined ICE, but it has nothing to do with, go ahead and denigrate my career, which is weird. It's an odd thing to do. But what I'm doing is I'm standing up for the men and women of ICE. I'm a sworn deputy sheriff. I'm a reserve police officer. I have been for over a decade, or almost a decade now. And our ICE agents are being vilified. They're being attacked. They're being doxxed. And they're out there trying to do their job. They're doing the job that the American people hired them for, that Congress wrote them.
Nobody fucking hired ICE to do the shit that ICE is doing right now.
For. They're doing it very, very well. And I stood up there. I did a recruitment video for them. Everybody thought that I actually joined ICE. And then after the hullabaloo, I spoke with some ICE officials and I said, you know what? Why not swear me in? Let's do this. And I'm 100% proud to stand with our agents of ICE. I love these people. They're wonderful men and women and husbands and fathers.
And cowards and blah, blah, blah. They hide their fucking face. Meanwhile, our police officers who are doing this on a daily basis in neighborhoods, they don't hide their face. The ICE agents are cowards. You don't think those cops are being doxxed?
race, every background, and we've had over 100,000 or close to 100,000 applicants now. I'll happily take the jibes of John Oliver, who also said that it would be, that America doesn't want Donald Trump to run, to win, but they desperately want him to run. The same people that laughed at that sort of stuff and made the cheap jokes on Donald Trump's at his expense. Well, look who's in the White House right now. So it's just, you can make the cheap jibes, and that's funny. And Bill Maher did it, and a couple of our congressmen did it too. But the fact that I'm being pilloried or attacked for joining up with a federal law enforcement agency is insane. I did it to protect Americans and to protect our men and women of ICE.
Okay.
Tim Miller, welcome back to Uncensored. First of all, in terms of Trump's overall policy on immigration, do you applaud the success he's had in pretty much shutting down the southern border? And do you agree that any undocumented Americans who commit crimes in the United States should be deported? I mean, on those 2 points first, are you broadly in agreement with what they've done?
Sure. Good to be back, Piers. I knew you were going to ask this question because I got it the last time I was here. So I have a little bit of follow-up for you. Look, I think that obviously the border was too open under past administrations, and we need to have control over who's coming into the country and who's not. There was some progress on that actually in the last year. The Biden administration, Donald Trump as administration has advanced that further. I think having control of the border is something that makes sense. Deporting people that have committed other crimes, not just we can discuss what we mean by crimes, but deporting people that have deported violent crimes, rather, as opposed to immigration crimes. Of course, we should deport people that have committed violent crimes. Here's the problem, though, which is why I just can't give him full credit. You don't actually want to be a country that nobody wants to come to, because that's where we're at now, where there is 0 border crossings, and that is actually not a good thing. I want to pull up here the list of the countries with negative net migration. That could be us this year. We're going to have negative net migration, more people fleeing America than coming. Some of the other countries that have that: Syria, Venezuela, Ukraine in the middle of being invaded, Pakistan, Sudan, China. That's not what we want. A growing country wants people to want to come here. We want people to want to flee in communist countries to come to America. We're going to have negative population growth for the first time in this country. Other countries that have that: Russia, Cuba, Bulgaria. I don't aspire for America to be like Syria and China and Russia, where people don't want to go into their countries. We don't want to have a country that's fully locked down. And I disagree with Donald Trump's immigration policy across that board, because that's what's happening in this country. People are no longer coming here. It's not just the violent criminals that are being kept out. People that want to come, work hard, contribute to this country. That is what America has been founded on. That is, they pay lip service to that. They say we support legal immigration, but they're not allowing people into the country. We're going to have more people leaving America than coming for the first time in a while this year.
Can I please respond to that?
Dean Cain, I'll let you respond. I mean, the question I would have for you is, I think what's happened on the southern border is borderline, pun intended, miraculous. To go from millions of people in the Biden 4 years coming over every year illegally on the border to basically just a few thousand now, almost eliminating it completely, is a huge success for the Trump administration in a very short period of time. Big tick. I think that most Americans I've talked to are unanimous, so they have no problem with undocumented people in the United States being deported if they commit a crime. Okay, so we can all agree on those things. But where I have a big problem with the further strategy of ICE, this just seems something so un-American about ICE going into places like Home Depot and grabbing people who may have been in the country for 10 years, who may have been contributing their taxes through gainful employment, contributing to society, maybe have kids that have been born in the United States. Grabbing those people and throwing them out of the country seems to be quite un-American to me, for the reasons Tim articulated. And most of the polling I've seen suggests that at least 2/3, maybe more, of Americans agree that they think that's a step too far. How do you feel about that? I mean, are you comfortable with Home Depot being raided by ICE and people like that who've not committed crimes other than being in the country undocumented being deported?
Well, let me ask you this question, Piers. What if you did that as a citizen in Europe? If I went to Europe and I stayed there and I was there for 20 years and I was undocumented, what would happen to me? I've had a home in Spain for 25 years.
My response to that would be that
I follow the immigration laws in Spain. I get stopped. I get stopped if I stay longer than 60 days in a 180-day period. All kinds of issues happen, and that happens in every single country. But let me get back to something real quick that Tim said, and I'll address that. The United States is the most immigrant-friendly, by far,
did he deflect off of that?
On this planet. We have over 50 million immigrants. Tim, just look at the numbers. More than the next 4 countries combined. We also let in 1 million people legally every single year. I don't think we really disagree that much. I'm sorry if you said something I couldn't hear.
I'm just saying not anymore. That's not what we're doing now under Donald Trump. I'm glad you like it, that immigrants are welcomed here, but right now we're going to have negative net migration.
Well, you're predicting something that isn't quite there. I'm sorry. I don't know if I was talking over you. I apologize.
No, continue.
Oh yeah, so yeah, will we have negative net migration? Well, it depends. If you're gonna, negative compared to last year under the Biden administration, our immigration system, I think we can both agree on this, is broken, and Congress needs to write laws to fix it. There should be. We want immigrants here in the United States, but we don't want people to be here illegal, and we don't want people crossing the border completely unvetted, and that's the big issue that was going on for the last 4 years.
But let me ask you, where do you draw the line?
Well, that's not for me to make that policy. That's up to Director Lyons and Congress. I mean,
I guess they never can answer that fucking question when you ask, where can you draw the line? It's so simple, especially if you're out there in the street.
These are things that Congress should be dealing with, and they should make those laws, and then our ICE agents will dutifully perform those duties. I mean, they'll take care of whatever the law.
You must have an opinion. You must have an opinion where that line should be drawn, because we all agree that the southern border being closed is a good thing. We all three of us agree that people who commit crimes when they're in the country undocumented, crimes that are not related to their immigration status, that they should be deported. So we've got broad agreement on those two big planks of the policy. The issue that Tim and I have is that we do not believe that just going into Home Depot and grabbing anyone who's undocumented is a particularly American thing to do, particularly if they've been in the country for a long period of time and built lives in America and are contributing to society and paying taxes and so on. So my question before I go back to Tim is simply, if you were helping them reframe the law, where would you draw the line in terms of who you would allow to stay and who you would deport?
Well, it sounds like you agree on policy but disagree on tactics. On tactics and the way they're doing it. The way they're rolling in. Usually...
No, I don't, because I don't agree with deporting everyone who's in the country undocumented. Do you?
Do everyone who's in the country undocumented? Well, that is not my decision to make. But I know that if you're in any other country undocumented,
answer the fucking question, Dean.
My opinion is, if you're here illegally,
what's your opinion, Dean?
I'm trying to give it to you. If you're here illegally, you should have gone through steps to legalize your status. And there's been countless opportunities to do that. There has been tons and tons of opportunities to do that. And you broke the law when you came here. It's the same as in any other country. You've got to find a way to legalize yourself or self-deport, or else ICE will come and they will deport you.
Okay, Timothy, your response to that?
And this is crazy. What he's saying, and I disagree with the tactics and the policy. The tactics have been, again, brutal. I think that Dean Cain wants to turn the country into something that looks more like an authoritarian country. We have negative people coming in, people going out. We have people in masks. Look, Dean was on Fox the other night, and Jesse Waters asked him, "Will you hop out of ICE vans and start apprehending guys?" And Dean said he'd be willing to do that. This is crazy. This is not a TV show. Like, this is real life. The idea that somebody who is not trained would join ICE and join these guys that are putting on masks and jumping out of U-Hauls at a Home Depot and nabbing people, it's a horrible policy. It is un-American. It is not how we should treat people. It does not show a respect for individual rights in a free country. And the policy itself of deporting these people, of deporting everybody that is here undocumented, is a crazy policy. It would crush the economy. Donald Trump's even backtracking on this policy because his friends in the ag industry have called him and said you can't deport our ag workers. And then on top of that, not only is the policy bad, and not only tactics un-American of these masked thugs jumping out and grabbing people, but ICE is screwing up over and over again. They don't need more agents. They certainly don't need more untrained actors as agents. Right here in Louisiana, I'll just give you two. Madonna Kashanian, she's a 64-year-old Iranian grandmother. She came here as a student. She did everything the Dean said. She was trying to get asylum. The U.S. kept kicking the can on that. She kept going to appointments. She's gardening outside her home, and she gets picked up by ICE. She was in detention for a week. Jose Francisco Garcia Rodriguez, 73-year-old grandfather. He emigrated on a U.S. boat from Cuba and tried to get asylum. Had a paperwork mistake. Arrested by ICE, held for a week. George Redis in California, 25 years old, worked as a security guard, U.S. citizen. ICE grabbed him, held him for 3 days. And we can argue about this. This doesn't even get into the Venezuelans that we sent to CECOT, many of whom didn't come to the country illegally. They came legally. They sought asylum. They came across the border. And rather than sending them back to Venezuela, ICE and Kristi Noem sent them to a torture prison in a third country that they weren't even from. So, ICE does not need more untrained agents right now. ICE needs to learn how to follow the law and treat people who have not committed crimes with respect and with the rights that they've earned.
Okay, but Tim, it remains the case. Hang on, Dane. I'll come to you. The thing I would say, Tim, to that, as I said in the intro, it remains a fact that the level of deportation so far in this Trump term are about half of what they were in the Obama and Biden administrations.
You alluded to it. That's because this is kind of one of these things that's, statistics, like lies, damn lies and statistics. Part of the reason for that was, as you said, the border was open. We can critique it, probably too open during the Biden-Obama administrations. When they're counting the deportations, that's people that come to the border, come across the border, get sent right back across. So it's easy to run the numbers up when you're doing that. The border right now is shut down, as you guys mentioned. So what they're now doing is going to get people from inside the interior of the country. That's much more challenging. And so they're spending all this money to get new ICE agents. People who are former actors, apparently, are going to come in and start helping with this. And the problem when you go into the interior of the country to start finding people is if you're just trying to get a quota, Stephen Miller set quota, you're going to end up nabbing people like George Redis, who was actually a citizen, or like Jimena Arias Cristobal, who was pulled over incorrectly because they got the wrong car, and you're going to screw up. And
but
so
it sounds to me, okay, but it sounds to me,
and not just do a quota and send people to Alligator Alcatraz and send them away. It's more challenging. It's a hard.
But it's not. Okay, but it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that what critics would say of what you've just said is, okay, so what is the difference in principle between somebody who comes over the southern border illegally and somebody who's come over a different way, or perhaps earlier over the southern border, but remains in the country illegally, notwithstanding the fact they may have built a life for themselves? If you're happy for people to be rejected immediately if they come over illegally, why would you be unhappy about them being held to account for being there illegally in a year, 2 years, 3 years? Uncensored is supported by OneSkin, a self-care business founded by scientists. I
think the difference is because, they've already made a life. They've already contributed to society. If you're talking about 10, 20, 30 years, they've already, dropped a bunch of taxes that they can't reap the benefits for. They put in money to Social Security. I mean, there's a lot that people who have been here for a long time as undocumented immigrants have done than some naturalized citizens. So I mean, I think there's a difference. There's a difference there, I would say.
It's the best steak you've ever had. I know I am. That's exactly what you'll get with uncensored sponsor Riverbend Ranch. Unmatched flavor, tenderness, and quality that turns an ordinary meal into something unforgettable. This is real American beef, born, raised, and processed in the United States of America. Riverbend Ranch, code PEERS.
Well, sure, because you have to have a border, you have to have rules and controlling the country, right? I get it, and so we are where we are. But I would just point out, Piers, that a lot of the people who are being deported, again, didn't come over illegally. We're not talking about people across the Rio Grande. We're talking about either children, DACA kids that got brought here by their parents. We're talking about people that overstayed visas. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have made a bunch of people illegal that weren't because they came through asylum. Either Joe Biden or George Bush or Obama or even Trump actually himself in the first term gave people from a lot of countries, Venezuela, Cuba, et cetera, asylum, temporary protected status, Haiti. This was a big thing during the campaign. And so now they've taken away their status and they're like, self-deport or we'll deport you. So these people didn't come illegally. They came through a legal process, and now we've got ICE agents and apparently former Superman actors are going to jump out of vans and nab them and hold them in deportation cells. That's insane. Like, that's not how you act in a free country. So no, I do think in a lot of these cases it is different. Like, a lot of these situations are complicated, and they tried to come legally.
There is no doubt it is complicated. Dean, over to you.
Tim, I don't understand why you have to go, a former untrained actor. I'm not untrained. I've been a sheriff's deputy for almost 10 years. I've been a sworn sheriff's deputy and a reserve police officer. So I don't know why you're saying untrained. And by the way, when you join ICE, they train you. So to say that and try to denigrate because I'm an actor, I shouldn't be able to be concerned about what's going on with our borders or with our law enforcement agencies is denigrating. It's ridiculous. Should I say because you're a former Republican strategist, you have no say on anything? That's baloney. So first of all, discounting that.
No, that's in his field.
A cheap joke, just like John Oliver.
Saying something is in his field.
Or Bill Maher, or anybody else. Let me finish my sentence, please. Let me finish my sentence, please. Denigrating somebody because they're doing this because of what they used to do or what they do or whether they're an actor or a writer or a newscaster is ridiculous. It's an ad hominem attack. It's wrong. And there's been over 100,000 people who have put in applications for ICE. So clearly there's a desire for people to step up and serve this country.
Dean, if you show up at someone's, you said on Fox that if they sent you in, you'd be happy to jump out of a truck and go apprehend people. So if you show up at the door of someone's home as an ICE agent, which you're an ICE agent now, do you know what rights they have?
I'm not an ICE agent yet.
Oh, okay. So yes, you are an untrained former actor. You are an untrained former actor.
I'm a former professional football player too. So when I run down the resume, so it's stupid.
I'm just telling a fact. You're untrained.
Denigrate it as though it's something negative. You denigrate it like it's something negative. Like you know what you're saying. So we're trying to gloss over it. It's ridiculous. It was snarky and it was stupid.
I'm telling you what's negative. You don't know the job. You don't know the job. That's why it's negative. It's
you don't know that I don't know the job. You're just assuming. Did you know I was a law enforcement officer?
You just said you weren't trained.
Do you know what migrants' rights are? If you show up to someone's house as an ICE agent, do you know what rights
they have? Oh, no, he said he wasn't.
All the due process rights of anybody in this country.
Okay. So do you need a warrant signed by a judge to apprehend somebody?
This is ridiculous. I'm not a sworn ICE agent yet.
You were saying you were happy to jump out of vans and start apprehending people. You were bragging about that.
I will, and then you made it, of course. I would if that's what the director asked me to do.
You know, the scary thought is that I think the majority of ICE agents have just as much knowledge as Dean Cain has. And that's the scary thing about it, is that these ICE agents are operating with masks on, not knowing anything about what they're doing. If it's legal, they don't even ask that shit. I don't think they understand any of it. They're told, they're like dogs. They're told to go fetch. And this is exactly what they're doing. Everybody's a bone.
I've got to say, hang on. I've got to say, of all the arguments to use against Dean Cain, I do find the kind of constant sneering that he was Superman and an actor. I do think that's irrelevant, actually. He's perfectly entitled, as an American citizen, to train up to be an ICE agent, should he want to. And as he's made repeatedly clear, Tim, he'll only start being an ICE agent when he's completed that training. So I don't think the fact he's been an actor or footballer or Superman or anything else makes any difference. The fact he's been, as he said, a sheriff and other things in terms of law enforcement actually makes him more qualified than most citizens to train to be an ICE agent. And if he wants to be, then what's the problem? Why should we use his background as a stick to beat him with?
I can answer that, Piers. Are you not concerned that ICE has decided that they're just going to go on this recruitment campaign and start leveling up the amount of agents that are going to be masked going into Hispanic communities?
Well, no, I think
all that just we want trained people. We want trained officers. This is very hard. This is hard work, and we got to respect people's rights. And ICE is not doing that.
But nobody,
and just pulling up really quick, hiring a bunch of people is not great. It's not going to help. That's a real concern. That's a legit concern that people who are not trained are going to be doing these jobs.
Sure. Two things I would say by way of response. One, I've not seen any evidence that people are going to be poorly trained to be ICE agents. They'll be recruited as they always have been. And trained. Well, you're talking about trained ICE agents.
They keep grabbing people.
I don't think wearing masks. I don't think Yeah, but my second point was we all know why they're wearing masks. It's because they're being doxxed left, right, and center on social media.
That's bullshit. Come on, bro. Like, police officers are out on the streets every fucking day without a fucking mask on. You don't think these individuals have the potential of being doxxed? Get the fuck out of here.
And having their life.
No. This is bullshit. For starters, we have evidence ICE agents are being trained. It is, really quick. Let's go back to George Redis. He arrived at work. He was a U.S. citizen. ICE agents surrounded his car. He identified himself as a U.S. citizen. They broke his window, pepper sprayed him, and dragged him out. He was in detention for 3 days. So we do have evidence that they're not being trained to respect people's rights. And on the masks, this is crazy. Do you know how many judges have been threatened? You know, if you're
They're
a
going
judge
to
and you
biker
have,
bars
there's a
and
case
picking
that's
up
happening, you're a prosecutor, and you're targeting a murder suspect, these guys have been threatened. There have been judges whose families have been threatened. Their lives have been threatened. There are a lot of people in public life who have been threatened. You still don't get to wear a mask and be a secret judge. Not in a free country. You don't. I'm sure you get threatened. Like, I'm sorry. If you're an agent of the government, if you're a representative of the people, you need to show your face and name yourself so that you have accountability. That is a totally reasonable ask. And so, I have no.
I mean, there is. Well, let me get Dean. All right, well, I'll get Dean to respond, but there is an irony, of course, that all the people who campaigned so aggressively for everyone to be masked during the COVID pandemic are now furious about the wearing of masks. Dean, your response?
Yeah, you can actually flip that. All the people who are worried about wearing a mask all of a sudden are advocating for wearing masks.
Well, the unfortunate reason that they're masking up is because they are being doxxed. Attacks on ICE agents have gone up over 1,000%. Their families, you disagree with that stat?
That's a Trump stat right
No,
there.
I'm sure that, but look, that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, if you work for the federal government, you cannot be a secret agent that nabs people.
No, you disagree with the stat. I asked you specifically.
I think it doesn't. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still have to. You still can't be a secret thug cop in a free country. I'm sorry. You have
They're
to tell
not
people.
thug cops, and the fact that you're denigrating them and calling them these names and these things is part of the problem. And same thing with me standing up and joining ICE. You are going out there and you're villainizing. Let me finish my sentence, please. You're going out and you're villainizing myself. You're going out and you're villainizing these ICE agents who are trying to uphold the law. These are wonderful men and women. They shouldn't be attacked. Their families shouldn't be attacked. They're doing their job that Congress has given them the authority to do and written the laws for. If you don't like the laws, have Congress change them. We should be upset that all these congressmen aren't delivering a new legislation, a new legislative piece, talking about how these things should be dealt with.
Why do they keep saying the same shit? It's not about the fucking law. If you're here illegally, if there's a fucking process that you have to do. You said, or they said they were going to get the undocumented criminals first. They're not doing that. I think everybody can agree, hey, if you've done heinous shit and you're undocumented, of course, yes, deport with due process. That's the thing everybody's missing out. Due process. That's what this whole fucking thing is about. Going into where people are trying to get their fucking visas or trying to get their green cards or trying to become citizens and having a row of fucking masked mercenaries sitting there. Very fucking intimidating. That's the problem. It's the tactics. It's not the law.
Should be the problem, but not doxing our ICE agents and not going down and just tearing them down and turning them into villains like many people have
Yeah,
tried to
and
do.
I agree. Like, if you don't want to, if you're afraid of that, don't do the job. Because, like, again, I don't want police officers or anybody approaching me masked. Like, why the fuck would I trust anybody in a mask to ask me to go anywhere with them?
To me, they're not villains. These are wonderful people, and they're trying to protect Americans.
also-
You're coming out with names. I'll give you names. Jocelyn Nungary. How about her? A 12-year-old girl killed in Houston by illegals. Was that okay? Do you care about her? Are you going to step up for her?
Here it comes.
Of course not. Of course that's not okay. Of course
I
we
do think
should,
it's important. I do think. Yeah, but it's important, Tim, I think, just before we respond, it's very important to acknowledge that ICE are also apprehending a lot of very bad people in this process. I mean, indisputably, you can see the stories every day. So, yes, there are some that are getting through the net, which is unacceptable. I don't like the tactics of storming into Home Depot and rounding up random people who may be undocumented. But we shouldn't be too denigrating of what ICE is doing in removing bad people. That we should all be on the right side of.
I don't denigrate that, but I'm just saying in any job, there are people that are bad apples that act poorly. It's true about podcasting, news hosting, acting. Like, when you have the force of the state at your hand, you have to be transparent about who you are. And allowing people to be masked and to rough people up without any accountability is just wrong. And what about that guy? I don't have his name in front of me. There's an older gentleman outside the IHOP in LA where you are, Piers, who got pepper sprayed, pushed to the ground, manhandled, thrown into a van. There's a video of it. His kids all served in the military. He hadn't filled out some of his paperwork. Is that the way that we treat people? It encourages bad behavior when guys get to wear masks and rough people up. So I'm sorry, sure, obviously, I'm not denigrating all people that work for ICE, but there have been some very bad actions, and their treatment of some of the migrants has been wrong. And I think that adding in new people who are not trained for this, who have been riled up by the extreme rhetoric of some in this administration, I think that you're going to bring in people that care more about deporting people and getting back at the bad immigrants than they care about respecting people's rights.
Yeah, that's facts.
Okay, let's just switch gears slightly. It's a similar theme. Donald Trump has today had a big presser at the White House in which he announced that the police in Washington, D.C. will now be under direct federal control and he's going to deploy the National Guard to the streets of Washington to fight crime and clear the city of its homeless population. What do you feel about that, Dean Cain? Is that an overreach?
I don't know enough about that to really to make a strong statement, but I know that the crime in D.C. has been crazy out of control. It's not a very safe area.
Where the fuck did he get his information from?
And that's unfortunate, not just miles from the Capitol, but for any city. I'm someone who respects law and order, and there's been an absolute just a deluge of crime, people taking over streets, these street racing areas, things like that, and it's gotten out of control. So I think some law and order being installed or brought back to DC is probably a good thing. But I don't know enough about the specifics to comment intelligently.
Okay, Tim, let me just play a clip from Trump, Tim, before I come to you.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. And they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit, and we hit. And they can hit real hard. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was.
Just to point out, he's meeting him in Alaska, an American state, of course, not Russia, as he mistakenly said there. But 800 National Guard members have been activated, Tim, and yet the Metropolitan Police Department statistics for DC show crime down in almost every category in 2025. Violent crime down 26%, property crime down 4%, all crime down 7%. And a US Department of Justice report says violent crime stats in the city are at a 30-year low. So what do you make of this?
He's a fucking liar.
I don't like it. I don't understand.
Trump is a liar.
Conservatives used to be a small government party. This is our instinct. Control.
If nobody watched that actual fucking, go find that fucking shit that speech that Donald Trump did today, or I think it was today. They're using 2023 crime statistics for DC. Those are 2023 crime statistics. It's 2025.
Closer to a locality than it is from the national government. The idea that he said also in that press conference, I guess, that the DC Police Department is now going to report to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi doesn't have any experience managing a police department any more than Dean does as an ICE agent. So this stuff is not serious. Okay, this is not serious. And I don't like the way that he denigrates the country either. You know, it's like if a Democrat went out there and talked like that about things in Alabama, you know, on this show, Piers, people would be up in arms, clutching their pearls, and the Democrats look down on Americans, et cetera, et cetera. Trump's out there trashing.
Like if you really want to go and fight crime, especially juvenile crime, you want to go down to Louisiana, you want to go down to Mississippi. Those are red states that you want to go down to. But he'll never mention red states. He'll mention the blue state, Chicago and D.C., although D.C. is not a state. But he'll mention the blue areas. He'll never mention the red areas because he doesn't want his base to think that they're a bunch of violent Neanderthals.
Trashing DC, our once beautiful city, it's squalor now. DC isn't squalor. Go to DC, go to Logan Circle, go to Georgetown, go to the Wharf. DC's beautiful. Yes, there's crime. Yes, I'm sure that there are legitimate reforms you could bring to, bring more law and order to the city. There's some discussion of some reforms about treating like these carjackers who are under 18 as adults. I'm open to changes like that. The idea that the federal government should take over a local city's police department, I just think that's dangerous, not conservative, and I don't think it's based on any actual serious effort to try to resolve policy changes. I think it's a power grab.
I mean, Dean, I always think part of what Trump does with these things is he wants it to be as much of a deterrent as anything else. I do think one of the reasons why the southern border has been so dramatically slowed in terms of people coming over it is because there is a sense that Trump is being exceptionally tough on the southern border, and that is acting as a deterrent. Do you think part of what his strategy here in D.C. is to send a message, we're just not going to put up with this anymore?
I think 100%. I think it'll be very effective. No question about that. And the reason that I think the crime statistics that you cited are down, and there's a lot of talk about this, is that they have been underreporting or not reporting crime. Same as California, same as so many other places. Tim, you might shake your
Holy shit. Oh, man.
It's certainly an arguable point. And that they're saying that those crimes haven't been reported. Would you feel comfortable walking around at 2 o'clock in the morning in D.C. in certain areas? I mean, I don't know, but it's really close to the Capitol.
Personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable walking around anywhere at 2 o'clock in the morning at night. I just personally wouldn't.
Not just some random city. And I think by doing this, you'll watch crime get cut right down. And if you're not doing anything that's wrong, if you're hanging out, going to a restaurant or going to a bar or doing whatever you're going to do, you're not going to have a problem with these law enforcement officers or the military, whatever it happens to be that he's using. But the streets will be safe. And I think part of it is that deterrent factor.
Okay, look, we've run out of time. I want to just end with a clip from South Park about Kristi Noem, just so we can lighten the load. Kristi Noem has responded by saying it's so lazy to just constantly make fun of women for how they look. I think she's slightly missing the point there. I think the point about South Park is savagely, ruthlessly funny about everybody in public life, and she's just copying a bit of what they give everybody else. And long may they continue to dish it out. Gentlemen, thank you both very much.
Wait, did he edit that out? Wait. Or did I miss it? Hold on. Did he edit the South Park clip out? Wait.
Oh, but it's really close to the Capitol. It's not just some random city. And I think by doing this, you'll watch crime get cut right down. And if you're not doing anything that's wrong, if you're hanging out, going to a restaurant or going to a bar or doing whatever you're going to do, you're not going to have a problem with these law enforcement officers or the military, whatever it happens to be that he's using. But the streets will be safe. And I think part of it is that deterrent factor.
Okay, look, we've run out of time. I want to just end with a clip from South Park about Kristi Noem, just so we can lighten the load. Kristi Noem has responded by saying it's so lazy to just constantly make fun of women for how they look. I think she's slightly missing the point there. I think the point about South Park is savagely, ruthlessly funny about everybody in public life, and she's just copying a bit of what they give everybody else. And long may they continue to dish it out. Gentlemen, thank you both very much indeed for joining me today.
That's crazy. I think he definitely took that out of the clip. That's crazy.
Appreciate it.
I know I'm not tripping. Ma'am, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. I'm not even going to read those fucking comments. His comments are crazy. It's only going to get worse. And I hate to say that, but we got 3.5 years to do so. Hopefully people make the right decision next time. Get the fuck out of your feelings and think about what's best for your family and actually choose what's in your best interest come these midterms. People do not fucking think with your, third brain or your fucking ego. Go out there and fucking vote and, fix this shit.